Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Secret Car Parts. I'm your host, Matthew Porter. Today we will be discussing the benefits of a good spark plug. Now, spark plugs seemingly do a simple job, touching off the gas and air mixture coming into your engine and stuff like that, but there is certain technologies that are made that can help it function at a much higher level than a normal spark plug. Now, this is a Bosch Platinum 4 spark plug. I don't know if you can see it very well, but there's 4 electrodes on there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's a gap in the center here, and that gap is what I believe fires, which makes this plug much better than other plugs. That gap in there lets air and fuel mixture be burned, and instead of having to jump around the wire electrode of a normal plug, this flame just shoots right out the bottom and propagates the flame front into a really potent result that will give you more power and mileage and let you have like a maximum efficiency car. Now, on a Chevy, the stock coil is rated for 45,000 volts, and that works fine, but I like using the MSD one. It's only rated at 42,000 volts, but that softer spark along with the Bosch spark plug does a really good job. Now, those spark plugs, I've used, I used to swear by the factory plugs before and stuff like that, and because they were so cheap and just change them all the time, keep it running good and all that. But then one time I had spent the money and got the Bosch Platinum 4 spark plugs, and even back in the day when they were brand new, those plugs used to go for $80. It was like $10 a piece. But those plugs are supposed to be good for 100,000 kilometers. And from my experience, they do have the power, they do have the mileage. It is such a clean burn. Your engine revs, it's so clean and crisp. Like your tuning has to be pretty on, or if you're just dealing with a factory car putting plugs in, it's really good, and you still notice the difference and stuff like that. I had always wanted to just write down my part numbers before and stuff like that, and I never really did. Not until I started running shop kinda, and I was on the market for Bosch Platinum 4s because they were pretty prevalent on the internet for a little while. You could get all kinds of plugs for this or that people had left over from stores and stuff like that, and I came across this old set I had and was able to get the part numbers off of it, and I was able to search for some sets online, and I only came across 2 complete sets for a V8, so I bought them. Right now online, there may be one more set available, but you have to go to a few different vendors, and even then there might be only 7 plugs, but still okay for a Buick V6 if you're racing and you want to be just have a little bit more of a competitive edge, because they don't make those parts no more, and very hard to come across. But if you can get that set, and the part number I have here is 4449. That'll fit any 305, 350, big block, I believe, V6s, of the old school stuff, of the old, like, rear wheel drive iron. As long as they use a 45 RT AC Delco plug, they should be able to plug into it. I even had these keeping the cylinders clean on an LS, so they would even fit LS really. And you'd have to get it and make sure, as I don't think I had them seated, and I never ran them in the LS, so I'm not 100% on the LS, but I know the old stuff, that's what it works for. Yeah, back in the day when I was a welder and I had my 83 Caprice, my best recorded mileage was from here to the Niagara Falls, which is like 100 kilometers, on $5 worth of gas. It was really nice. I did have the wind behind me at that night, but it still produced those results. And I was tuning all my stuff before, working a really hardcore carburetor tuner and car tuner and stuff like that. And I would record the fuel I bought and the mileage I would run. And normally I was getting like 30 mpgs. And like the best examples of the Caprices from the factory were getting like 28. And those 2 extra miles make so much of a difference on how often you have to buy gas and stuff like that, or how far you can go, or how much you can enjoy a night or a day out. Because when I was growing up, everybody always said those cars were gas guzzlers, but nobody else I knew kept theirs in perfect tune. When they're in good tune, not even perfect, just good tune, they are still really respectable. They get really good mileage. But when you have a super tune on them, they're fucking just amazing. It's so good. Yeah, I love the Bosch Platinum 4s. One of the funny things too about my recorded mileage for that 100-kilometer jaunt, and I was even just doing the limit there, because I was on very limited fuel and stuff like that, very limited money. I had to do it, and I actually had some 255 wide BF Goodrich tires on steel rims that I ran on my Caprice, and those are a wide fucking tire for a Caprice. And I don't think you can fit those on a Monte Carlo or a G body, but Camaros and Caprices, those tires fit and they are the shit. But yeah, I recorded my best mileage with those super wide tires. That car was the shit. It would just stick in a corner. I think I had even put an SS, a Super Sport motor into it. And I had all my tuning goods on it and stuff like that. And it was really nice. Like, really nice. That's the car I was talking about online earlier, that I had some performance tires and rims with lower profile tires. And I really didn't like the low profile tires and stuff like that, the summer tires or whatever. Because they're made for warm sunny day and stuff like that. And when you get onto a wet road and have to jump on the brakes, and I'm used to my BFGs and stuff like that, and it didn't stop nowhere near as good as the BF Goodrich tires in the rain. And one of the other reasons I like BF Goodrich tires is because they're good in the snow. Like, before, I had no choice but to drive my classic car all year round. And the way I had my car set up, they handled very neutral. I like putting a nice sway bar on. I had one I bought when I was young, and I put it on a few different vehicles and stuff like that, which I recently have sold. But it made that car handle just fucking beautifully. But that was with the BF Goodrich tires. Like with the performance tires and stuff, it still handled, but it pushed a little bit in turns, and I didn't like the weather braking. That's my main reasons I don't like the performance tire, and I do like the tire I like, because like when I first started out, I had bought a new set of brand new set Motomaster tires. Now they get you point A, point B, but the braking sucked, the traction sucked, the weather sucked. Not as bad as performance tires, kind of, but about the same maybe. But I thought from having a brand new set of tires, I was just going to be into a good setup and stuff like that. But later on, I eventually bought a set of Oldsmobile Rally rims, and they had BFG 235, 65. It was either 14 or 15s, but those went on, and those do look good on a Caprice, even Chevy. I think those look good on almost anything. And they're nice steel wheels. And if you're into performance and stuff like that, if you paint your calipers, or if you have a bot like SSBC brake caliper setup and stuff like that, and the Oldsmobile Rallies have slots on them that you can show off the caliper a little bit. You can see the red or whatever color you paint it when it passes by. I think I like red on my calipers. It looks more performance, I think. But that set of Oldsmobile Rally rims with those 235 BF Goodrich tires, and they were only even like 40% tread. Those were still like a million times better than that brand new set of Motomaster tires I had. Once I had found the BF Goodrich tires, it was basically everything I ever wanted in a tire. It handled exactly the way I imagined and believe that they should hook up to the road and stuff like that and keep your car planted. So ever since then, I've ran BF Goodrich tires on everything I could. My last car that I had, the Caprice that I sold not long ago, that was the only car I've had in the last 20 years that wasn't fully rebuilt. Not fully rebuilt, because I always ran with the stock engine and stuff like that. Because usually before, like in the before time, I used to get them used, but they were just perfectly broken in. Doesn't mean you could just stand on it right away. You had to kind of ease it into it, but it was still a good platform for performance. Performance and tuning, and because I needed to maximize my money, that's how I got good at making really good mileage numbers. Now my B-bodies, they never really had a sway bar on. Not my full-size 4-door ones. And even without the sway bar, well, with me rebuilding the shocks, the springs, some of the bushings, and putting my good sway bar on, they would handle very neutral in turns. I used to love them. And that's how you kind of want to tune your car. You don't want it to push for sure. Drifting's okay, but it's better if it's neutral, because then you can get through more situations and stuff like that. If it automatically just drifts, in certain situations it would just make that more hairier of a situation. But with a neutral car, if you can just carve it through primarily, then it helps with accident avoidance and just being prepared when you have to do maneuvers. And without the rear sway bar on them, those cars with the springs, and I used to use like a cop spring, cop shocks, and I had an aftermarket sway bar, but with those parts, it would handle very neutral, very flat, corner really nice. But I did have one B body with a rear sway bar, and I did not really rebuild it. I just had to do a little brake work, but it was pretty drivable as it was. And I found with the rear sway bar, it does make it oversteer more. So it is more of a drift car, but it was so reliable in its reactions and stuff like that. It was actually a perfect handling car that I had bought for 800 bucks. And it was just an amazing, amazing vehicle. Like with no work except for like maybe a coil and filters and stuff like that that I had sitting around. It was really nice. But on a G body, 235s are good. On Steelies and stuff like that, they handle amazing. And but with a G body, I always liked to upgrade to at least the SS rod, the sway bar rod, sway bar, or to or have polyurethane bushings on the sway bar. That's like the only place that I find that kind of needs like a polyurethane bushing. It really has no performance advantage, like it doesn't make you faster. But even on a stock G-body car with just a stock sway bar, you can notice improvements in handling with the polyurethane end links. That favorite car of mine, my purple Monte Carlo with the white door that I put a SS end on, put a SS spoiler on, had tuned, had the suspension rebuilt, I didn't have access to an extra SS sway bar at that time, and I just used polyurethane bushings. And I never really pushed that car too hard in turns, just because it wasn't as solid as some cars. It was just enough to have fun with. I still pushed it, but mostly in the wintertime. And just with those poly bushings on it, it made it handle very neutral, and used to like it. Mostly I could drive on a snowiest day just like it wasn't snowing. It was so sure-footed with the BFGs, and now the Posi, I'm not sure what the hell was going on with it because I could make it bark in second and with both tires, but mostly only lit up one. But I think I just freaked the fuck out of the open Posi to where it locked up, and it was good. But that car was pretty perfect, and the fact that I could get it to bark in second whenever I wanted to, just about, it made me not really need a Posi per se, because in the snow an open differential is okay. Like a full Posi is better. I do not like the limited slips because they will cause you to spin out. And the only cars I really find to come with like a true limited slip is like a Buick. With just those couple upgrades and stuff like that, and it really helps vehicle safety and just preparedness. And with the Bosch plugs, it helps your mileage and your power. I think with the polyurethane bushings on the sway bar, it even helped brake dip a little bit. My favorite B-body car, oh, there's so many of them, but my old one that I made my snowdrift video with, when I used to brake hard with that, it wouldn't even dip the front end. And it wouldn't transfer weight to the back tires, like it wouldn't shift body. It would leave like a pro stock car just fucking straight, flat, out of the hole, and just go. But I had used stiff everything on that. And the secret to my setup is I like the station wagon or cargo control rear springs, because I always had a lot of cargo. I had a lot of family ride with me. I had the family car. I had my sister plus my three cousins, or two cousins, plus their fucking 20 friends, and me hauling stuff for picking up car parts and all that kind of stuff. It was mandatory that I kept a good vehicle and that I got the most mileage and we had the most fun. It was a fun time. Like, you can't expect teenagers to have money, like, especially down here. And I just did my part. They had a good childhood growing up. They all had fun, went to all the parties, all that kind of stuff, and it was good. I used to let them drive. I'd sit in the back, and then they would wheel around sometimes, and I was comfortable with them borrowing my car, and it was good. So I don't know if they know it or not, but they got to drive some pretty excellent machines. Monties and Oldsmobiles and Caprices and Buicks and all my cool stuff anyway. It was good times anyway, yeah. But that's how those plugs work and why they're good. And like right now, you can still find them on the market, but mostly they're for like Ferraris and Lamborghinis and stuff like that. You can find them for like smaller cars too that are common overseas. Well, for the old V8, they don't make them anymore. But they are worth power. And like in a drag race setup, if you're racing two exact same cars and that's your only part that you have that's like different is those plugs, it will cause you to win. Well, that's today's secret car parts and car stories for the day. I'll keep posting them as I keep coming across stuff or as I want to talk about my car history. But the things I told you are all like battle tested and proven parts and stuff like that that I really like that I've used for 20 years. And then like the car I had that not long ago that I had sold was the only car I never rebuilt like all the subsystems. And that wasn't because of want to. That was just because of lack of money. And plus I had pain in the ass garage. Like I knew from when I got the car or just after that my fuel pump was going. Just because I've never had a Caprice that couldn't just light it up when you stomp on them. And I had a pump, but the shop guy, the owner of where I did my work, didn't want me changing nothing needlessly, even though I told him it was going out. And even though everybody's been told for years that if you know your car is going to break, to fix it before it requires expensive work. And that fuel pump is the reason they say that, because that fuel pump goes, if it totally goes, it can burn your intake valve. And that will require expensive engine work to fix. That's why it's good if you know something's up with your vehicle to fix it right away. I love cars from when I was little. I don't know who my mother used to buy her cars off of, but they were the junkiest pieces of crap that you could imagine. I remember back in the day her paying like twice what I would for a used car. And like her Camaro, it had the leaf springs coming through the floor. And she had a brake caliper seize, and I mean they always got us to and from where we had to go, but they had issues, right? And when I was really small, it made me want to learn how to fix a car, just so I'd be able to take care of it and have safety. Like a lot of my cars I've bought for $400 or $500 up to $8. I think back in the day, most I paid was like 12 or 1500 for a really nice example of an Oldsmobile or Monty or Caprice. With my best car, oh my god, that fucking Camaro. I bought that 79 Camaro for $500. It had a cracked frame and a blown up engine. I put a few engines into it, but it was really hard on engines and stuff like that. And then people were stealing stuff off it, so I got rid of it. But when I was a welder, I had bought a 91 or 92 IROC Camaro, yellow and black, Recaro bucket seats. I don't think it had the 11-inch brakes on it, but at the time I wasn't sure of the year, but I had thought it to be like a pre-production 1LE. But I had heard a long time ago that the Toronto police had a yellow IROC that was like a 10-second car or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but that the fact that it came with the factory Recaros made it really special. As it is, like I had like out of my cars there was like 4 or 5 that were my favorite. My first teal Monte Carlo was really great. I loved that till that was the first car I tried fixing stuff on, and because I was doing so well fixing things, I went beyond my skill and I misadjusted a valve and blew that engine. But that was a really amazing car that I had saved for a long time, and I had my purple Monte Carlo with the white door, and that was tuned and just handled amazing and was like fast and was just great. That was my work car from to and from and stuff like that. I had my Pontiac B-Body. That was one of the ones from the videos. And that car was also tuned, and I had the suspension also tuned really good, and that was the one that would leave like a pro stock car. And then I had that Olds. Oh, my T-top car was the shit. That was just the ultimate summer cruiser. And I was just learning on that car too, and that's when I learned kind of needed alignment. But that car was just sexy, amazing. Had 305 high output. I ghetto fabbed a hood scoop for it using a hammer and a block of wood. It looked fucking awesome. And then I had the other Oldsmobile with the 307 Rocket and just a good factory suspension package and stuff like that, because it did come with a rear sway bar. That was an amazing car, like amazing, but that was full size. Then I had my 83 with a 305 HO in that. Also an amazing car. Mileage, power, handling. It was just the shit. It could brake on a dime, you know? It was awesome. And my 92, that was just the shit. I could crab walk that thing for a fucking kilometer. That was like a factory race car. And from some of the research I've done, that car was a Yenko tribute car from the factory. And driving and being the driver I am and being able to experience all the nuances and stuff of it, it was really what I would expect of like a Yenko tribute of the 80s or 90s, yeah. My favorite car was that Camaro. That's my ultimate. My second, okay, stock car, favorite. That Camaro, stock car, favorite. Second, full-size Oldsmobile. My tune favorite, I couldn't pick one between the Monty and the Pontiac. And my original Monte Carlo that I had bought when I was like 19, like I know that was a special car and I tried to save it best I could, but I couldn't. But had I had all the years of skill I had like 10 years ago, that car would have also have been the shit. But um, it was good. It was really good. It seemed like it would. It didn't seem as repeatable in corners as say that full-size Oldsmobile, but it still would have handled basically the same and would have been an awesome car, but wasn't something I wasn't able to save. Like I love driving, learning how to drive and mastering abilities and stuff like that. Anything you can do to turn, to avoid accidents, to apply power and get away from an accident, or brake and avoid accidents. Anything you can do in those areas that makes your car more reliable and repeatable and have better performance in that manner is like really good modifications and stuff like that. So if you can like stop before something or stop and turn, or if something's coming you gotta step on the gas. Like if you can do all those things in your car and do it really well and it's at least as good as the factory can or better, it's like really good for your vehicles. I've never had a modified engine per se. Like I've had my 6 liter that had the L92 heads on it and stuff like that, and Victor Jr. intake, and I had a NASCAR carb on it because I was planning on revving like 8,000, 8,500 RPM and stuff like that, and I built that, but I had gotten hurt and I wasn't able to put the money into it, and it was something I kept on working towards, but I had people bitching at me and stuff like that, so I couldn't really. It was a tough situation anyway, like that, and like that was like my engineering challenge I wanted to do. I wanted to make it have about 600 horsepower and rev would have. I would have liked 85, but I'd been happy for 8. And I had a 6 speed I had behind it and stuff like that, and I had like no money for nothing, so I had to sell it. But all the other engines I've had were 305 or 307 rocket. I've had 2 Buick V6s. I've owned one front wheel drive Buick. It was a 91. That thing could smoke the tires up. And then I had a rear wheel drive one, the 3.8 liter, in a 84 four Oldsmobile. Not like the one in the front wheel drive car was pretty quick, but the V6 in the old car, it really was not fast at all. However, you could still do some stuff with it and stuff like that. Like if I revved it to the red line and stuff like that. And like I wanted to put a 305 in it. So at that time, I really didn't care about the engine and stuff like that. I drove it like a race car every day almost. shifting it. Well, only up to limits and stuff like that, but still, like, I was stomping her and revving her as best she could, and I think I was turning 6,000 RPM in it. And first gear, I could go from 0 to 80 in 80 kilometers in first gear, turning 6,000 RPM. One time it was raining, and I had put some. I tried to build that car kind of cheap, and I just put some leaf spring lifters in it, or some coil spring lifters in it, and that made that able to get loose a little bit more. And I found out one time when I was accelerating from the corner in the rain that I could walk it sideways in second gear. It was so underpowered and stuff like that. I could just fucking shift at 6,000 RPM into second, but it would break the tires loose, but it would just slowly walk sideways. Like I wouldn't help. I would just, it would get sideways and I'd bring it back and stuff like that. But that was one thing that car would do. I wouldn't recommend trying that to anybody, especially if you don't have skills or aren't really experienced with it and stuff like that. So don't do that. But that was just something that car could do and was normal back in the day. And like most of the cars I've had, they weren't fast or they weren't fun because they were fast. They were fast. They were fun just trying to get them to go fast. And then learning how to drive those and getting the most out of them, you learn consistency. And then from learning consistency, you can hop into better and better vehicles and have better and better results. Now, that might, it's true for no matter what, but at the same time, they've changed vehicle platforms so many times now, like you don't know what you're getting into and stuff like that when you're hopping into this or that, because you got, like I was all rear-wheel drive in the past, and then there's front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, and the way the drives change, and then the vehicles, different makers have different setups and stuff like that, and so like, if you know vehicle dynamics and stuff like that, mostly you can get your cars to handle the way you want and stuff like that, but at a certain point, there's limitations to what vehicles can do. Like before, when everything was all standard, and that's why you had like a standard race car before. Everybody was driving the same thing basically, and you could get good at maneuvering and doing all kinds of sports or whatever you're going to do with them, and it was a standard thing. You could hop in just about any race car, and a good race car driver could just go, you know. But these days, skills will still help you a lot, and they will. You can overcome lots of situations and stuff like that. But as to like just amazing vehicles, my vehicle history was the shit, and I fucking love those cars. And I really, if I can help it, I don't want a new car. I would like to hop into something old again. Like I have mine, but it's also been a project for the last 10 years, and the longer they sit, the harder it is to put together. And but I think what is wrong with my car now is the coil. I was under a deadline and I was being rushed, and I think I pinched the wire. Like I know I pinched the wire, but I think that's what's going on with it because I'm getting power to the distributor. It's just not coming up the spark plugs and stuff like that. So that's one thing I got to look at. And I just haven't had no money for so long. It sucks. So that's probably another video I'll see in the future is the money going or something like that. But we're checking it out. But we're just waiting for it to come across enough money to do it. But I don't know. For me, it's certain criteria to be awesome cars, and like old to me, old cars are it. Like they're it. Love me an old standard GM product. And even then, I like 4-link suspension and 3-link or torque arm suspension. Leaf springs are okay, but I don't know. I've always pictured them possibly doing something weird. Maybe as a result of my mom's Camaro's leaf springs going through the floor. But like coil springs and 4-link, like the torque arm is the shit. I love the torque arm. But for stock engines and stuff like that, the 4-links just in stock form are pretty damn awesome and reliable and like repeatable. They do the same thing every time. They're not gonna flex or really hop or nothing. Some of them do, but usually not when you have good shocks and stuff. But I never trusted leaf springs in a performance situation that involved me putting my life at risk. But I have pushed the limits on a couple of 4-link cars while I was learning handling and stuff. It's not something you should jump into lightly handling because it does involve you possibly wrecking and stuff like that, and a wreck can cost you your life, right? Like cars is something to kind of, especially performance, is something to gradually just keep easing into. You don't just want to go for it, but I mean, if you're pushing it on a racetrack, chances are you have runoff where you can spin out or go off track or push or whatever, and then you're okay. And then practicing that, you just keep adjusting your driving style until you can handle the turns either at the limits of the car or at just mechanical limits and stuff like that. But or even beyond the mechanical limits. But like, it's something you have to learn. It's not something that you should just go gung ho into. Even at the racetrack, there's walls and stuff like that. That billionaire just died not long ago from hitting that wall at the racetrack. I think there was a couple deaths this year from people running into the walls at racetracks. But if all you have is the street, you especially have to take very big precautions as so you don't hurt anybody or yourself. And most of that, if you like performances, like lonely roads where there's like no traffic whatsoever. Those are the roads I used to hit, and like you have to go. There's specific places that would be so fun, but you have to drive and you have to kind of know about them and stuff like that. But and dirt roads are good to learn on because it's just like it kind of recreates situations like in wintertime. So if you are new to driving, a winter road is, or a dirt road. Now you don't want to tear it up, because tearing it up fucks up for everybody, right? But like, just skimming across the surface and stuff like that, that's fine. Won't do no damage to the road, and you're just kind of recreating winter scenarios and stuff like that. That's why I kind of like trucks too, because trucks tear shit up, right? Trucks light them up, and then there's fucking gouges up the road and stuff. But yeah, there's lots to talk about, lots more episodes coming, but that's it for today, guys. We're here, just chilling. Hope you guys enjoy this long ass video. Me talking about cars. And the good thing about this is none of this is bullshit. Like, this is all hard, researched, tech, battle tested, longevity tested, and stuff like that. Results and stuff like that. Like all those, like just a few couple of things I talked about. It's all pertinent information and stuff like that. And if you have one of those vehicles that can help you, even some of that information help you on different vehicles and stuff like that. But that is today's episode. So, in parting, have a good day. Drive safe. And I'll talk to you later. Thanks.